guys, how you doing? It's Tom. I'm back with another video. On this video, I wanted to just talk about, some of the. I guess I want to start. Maybe I'll make this kind of a little bit of a series, and different parts of the Philippines, and where guys might want to live. At least places that I've been. I could kind of mention some other areas that I haven't been, and just give you some real few and basic information about it, that I heard about it or that I've seen about it. But for the most part, I could just talk about places that I've been, which is, I've been to several cities and stuff in the Philippines, different islands, And on this one, I wanted to talk about Dumaguete, okay, because I know Dumaguete is a popular city for expats, and Westerners, just in general, right? It's not a big city. There's I think the population is about 100,000. And, it's really an excellent location, okay, for starters. It's centrally located. It's at the southern end of Negros Oriental. Interesting thing about this island is that Negros Oriental and Negros Occidental, they split this same island. Like, in other words, it's really one island, but there's two sections of it. And it's not split like across the middle, or you know what I mean? Like, you think, oh, there's a line from east to west going right across the middle of the island, going from north to south right in the middle. That's not how it's actually split vertically. You know what I mean? It's more of a vertical line that separates this island. But the northern part of the island is like Bacolod, okay, San Carlos. Those cities are on the northern part, and that's the Occidental part. But Dumaguete's on the Oriental. It's not just the southern half, but it's kind of like the eastern half as well. You know what I mean? Because it's really kind of separated by east and west more than north and south, believe it or not, the two islands, or So Dumaguete's like extremely close to a lot of places, I mean, it's close to Cebu, it's close to Bohol, it's close to Siquijor, which is a small island. It's not that far from Mindanao. I mean, Mindanao is like, it's just south of it, okay? And of course you can go north to Bacolod, and then from Bacolod you could just take a quick boat ride to Iloilo, which is on Panay Island. So it's really like a good location, I could see why a lot of guys go there, want to live there, It's got some beautiful places to visit, right? Like beautiful nature, like Casaroro Falls, Forest Camp, resort. There's Sulphur Springs. There's which is like a natural formation. There's other places too, that I haven't been to that you could find there. And the really interesting thing about it, it is right on the water. The city's right on the water, but there's not really a beach. That's in Dumaguete per se, right? They have a nice walkway and everything that's along the ocean. It's a very popular section of Dumaguete, right on the water there. But it's also very close to areas like Darwin, Bacong. Valencia is just west of it. So Valencia is kind of nice because it's elevated. As you go west to Valencia, you're going uphill. So it's elevated. The weather's a little cooler. And it's just nice. It's almost mountainous, almost. You know what I mean? It's really nice. Bacong, Darwin is one of the best diving places in the world, for divers, snorkelers, whatever. It's incredible, right? and it's really close to Dumaguete. Um, and there's beaches, of course, in those areas. I think even Bakong too, but certainly Darwin. So it's really like it's got a lot of pluses. You know what I mean? Like the location of it, the proximity, not only to beaches and just ocean and water type things that you'd be interested in, going to other nearby islands and stuff, but it's also got the different elevations. Like I said, when you go to Valencia, it's really nice. It's elevated. It's cooler. It's really, it's really beautiful. Yeah, it's just it's I could really see how so many people like to go there, or like to live there even. It'd be a good base, good central base. Even if you're somebody who wants to travel a lot, right? But as a base to live in the Philippines, it's really good. Um, the only thing I can say on the negative side is that the infrastructure is not great. Okay, there's a lot of brownouts, where there's no electricity for several hours, and oftentimes they're planned. So they'll say, oh, tomorrow, Sunday, there's going to be a brownout from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. So at least you know about it. It's like I guess they're trying to upgrade parts of the electrical systems. I'm guessing. Why else would you have a brownout? Unless it's just a matter of because it's too hot and, can't handle the load of everyone using their air con at the same time. I don't know. I mean, I would hope that it would mean that it happens because they're improving little by little the electrical infrastructure, right? I would say that, yeah, it's a small city. I mean, so there's not a lot of sort of restaurants. There's one mall, there's a Robinson's, and there's some restaurants within that mall. There's a Jollibee, there's a McDonald's outside of the mall even, right? There's a Max's restaurant, which is outside the mall. Then within the mall, there's other, there's several restaurants. But of course, Robinson's isn't like a huge mall. You know what I mean? It's like a 3 or 4 story. I mean, within the Philippines, that's one of the smaller malls that you'll find. It's a decent sort of everyday mall, like just to go there for certain things or like for restaurants or whatever. But it's not some huge like go-to mall. Like some Ayala and Cebu or the Mall of Asia in Manila. But so it's somewhat limited, right? Like the restaurants and stuff are not as plentiful as they are in areas like Cebu and Manila, and even Bacolod, is you know is bigger. I mean, a lot bigger than Dumaguete. Um, but Dumaguete does have that really. It's a really good location, and there are a lot of expats there. Percentage-wise, right? There's a lot of expats in Dumaguete. Compared to the population and stuff. So it's a good place to go where if you want to be around other Westerners or have access to other Westerners, have friends from your country. It's certainly a good place for that. There's the transportation is somewhat limited. It's kind of like trikes. They don't really have taxis or grabs like they do in the bigger cities. They just have the trikes. Trying to think if they even have. You can always arrange usually for like a private driver type situation. You know what I mean? You could probably find somebody with a van or whatever. I know you can in Bohol. Because Bohol's similar, right? Very kind of a small island, with Tagbilaran, which is a small city, and they don't have like taxis either, or grabs. But you can find usually if you scout around, you can find like a private driver, to cart you around to all the tourist attractions and stuff like that. Of course, if you're living there, there is a bus too in Bohol. I believe there's a bus. There's definitely a Ro-Ro bus that, or Ro-Ro slash bus that in Dumaguete, and I think just a regular bus too, like a city bus, I think. But yeah, most of the guys that move there, they're either gonna drive. They might take the trikes for a limited amount of time for 6 months or so, but then they usually wind up either getting a motorcycle, scooter, or a car, right? And depending on your skills, you know, that would depend on whether you should get a motorcycle, scooter, or a car. If you're proficient with driving a motorcycle, like recently, not like 40 years ago, like me, you would probably then might be okay with getting a scooter or a bike, but be very careful though, because the driving there is just a lot different. The roads, there's no traffic lights really, very few traffic lights. You don't have stop signs. You have to drive incredibly defensively. You really do. You really gotta, and that's even a car. If you're gonna drive a car, same thing. But at least a car, you have protection. You're protected. You're protected by the exterior of the car. Whereas on a motorbike or scooter, you are the exterior of the motorbike. So it's kind of like just be very careful, right? But that, like I said, the sort of lack of transportation, lack of restaurants, especially I think Western restaurants or Western style restaurants, would be, I guess I would consider that a drawback to for most expats that are wanting to live there. Some guys might like it, and I like a lot of Filipino foods, but my girl's a really good cook too, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes if you're just gonna eat street food, like, you gotta be careful, because how long the food's been sitting out, and stuff like that. That's a little different than home cooking. Even though, there's some people that are really good cooks, that have their little stands, little food stands, and you never have to worry about getting sick, but you never know, if you're sort of experimenting and like, oh, let's try this, let's try that, you gotta be careful. To tell you the truth, I would recommend, if you're coming here to the Philippines to live, get a hepatitis A and B shot, okay, before you get here. In other words, it's a series of shots. It takes about, at least 6 months, I think, to get all of them, because you don't take them all at once. There's like time periods in between each one, So I would get that done in the U.S., okay? In fact, I would get tetanus shot. I would get a bunch of shots before I came to live in the Philippines, Not just Hep A and B, but, tetanus and measles and all that stuff, If you haven't had it already, get those type of shots, but I mean, there are some, like I said, its proximity to other islands is incredible. You could take boats to Cebu, Siquijor, and then from Cebu you can go to Bohol, like on another boat, and we're talking like 1 to 2 hour boat. Not even really talking about necessarily like it's not always a Ro-Ro boat. Sometimes you can just take a smaller Fast Cat, or whatever boat. But either way, it's really not long rides, So it's really it's pretty cool, And I've also heard that the internet. I've been there twice to Dumaguete. We've been there, and the internet's not great either. Now, if you're able to get like Starlink or something like that, hey, go for it. You know what I mean? That might be a good thing, especially if you're working online or you need the internet and stuff like that. You might want to consider that, because some of the internet there is just pretty sporadic, just like the electric infrastructure. But like I said, I think a lot of guys would probably consider there to be more positives than negatives about Dumaguete. And that's why it's one of the top 10, retirement spots for expats. I think it's still on the list. It used to be. It used to be number 7, actually. But that's about it, guys. I think if you guys got any comments, don't hesitate to send me a comment. And I think I'll just do a series of these videos. I'll cover some other cities that we've been to, and the pluses and minuses and stuff like that. So, all right, guys, have a great day. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And you can share it too. If you think someone might want to see it, go ahead and share it. I appreciate it. All right, have a good day.